Hello, April.
Hello.
Thank you for sitting down with me today to talk about your life. I would like to start off with this.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So,
yeah.
can you please show the camera the photos?
I can. Actually,
So that is a portrait of you, and there's one more behind it. So these are two pictures of you taken by the world famous photographer Bruce Gilden. And I wanted to give you those. Those are for you. Just some prints that I made of them.
okay.
Do you remember anything about that day or meeting him?
I do and I don't. I don't remember meeting him per se. I do definitely remember the dress. That was my baby. I loved that dress, let me tell you. I know that I know he was like, wow, he was like, you know what, he told me, he was like, do you mind if I take a picture of you? And I was like, for what? No, you can't have a picture of me. And he was like, no, he was like, you know what, I can see like so much life and loss together all at once, and you and your spirit around you, that like, you know, I feel like I need to capture, you know, there's something I need to capture and make sure that it's seen by others, because it's something that you don't see every day. I do remember him telling me that.
Did you know that it's published in his book called Only God Can Judge Me?
I didn't.
How do you feel about that? Do you like the pictures?
I do. You know, that's a really good title, actually, for a picture like this, because, you know, honestly, it shows that you can see, like, that's the kind of, like, class of I don't know like really how to put it in words. That's like the class level, the level of class that I was used to living in Chicago. Like, you know, when I was not so lost, when I was in the bar and food industry, and, you know, I was serving, you know, I was serving drinks, and I was a bar supervisor in Chicago at the #1 hip-hop mecca of Chicago, Subterranean, and I was actually, you know, like, used to, you know, wearing and dressing like this, and to actually see me in clothes that, you know, captured like the essence of what I represented in Chicago before I came down here, but see the wear and tear that just life has taken on me over the years is, wow. You couldn't put a better caption on that. Only God could judge me now, you know, honestly. Because, like, yeah.
You also, in the book, there's some words said by you that he put next to the photo. Do you mind? This is what it said.
Do you want to put this back in?
If you don't mind reading them.
I didn't know I needed my reading glasses today.
I'm sorry, I should have let you know.
Give me 1 second. Hold on. May I light my cigarette? I'm getting old. I can see this one. It says, can I read it before I read it?
Yes.
Out loud, please. Yep, and that is definitely the absolute truth. And yeah, wow. So this is actually in the book?
Yes.
Okay. And so I do, that just goes to show, like, drugs fog and cloud your memory so much that, you know, I wish I remembered the man, because for me to open up to somebody like this, you know, I had to really, really have trust and want, you know, people to know that, you know, we don't, as women out here, you know, that end up on the streets and end up turning to prostitution, a lot of us, selling ourselves, our bodies, our temples that God gave us. It's not, you know, it's not necessarily selling our soul, but it's selling our temple that holds the soul that God gave us. A temple to, you know, represent our soul, and we're supposed to keep it sacred and to ourselves, and it is a very traumatizing thing alone, and in order to be able to do that, trust me, I don't think there is a single female out here in this lifestyle that hasn't had some kind of severe sexual trauma that stemmed into becoming a, you know, in the adult sex industry. You know, I think it stems from child sex abuse, and this is the caption that is in the book next to the photographs. I haven't seen yet, but it says everything. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It says everything probably stemmed from the abuse I took sexually when I was a child, from age 3 to 11. It wasn't regular sexual abuse. It was anal, and it was pretty traumatizing. It was my grandfather. I tried to tell my parents, but they didn't believe me. I got in trouble, so I never brought it up again. Until his funeral. That's when I walked up to his casket and I spit in his face and told everyone the truth. and I refused to go to. That's the end of the caption, but that's when I told everyone, and that's when the truth came out, and it was horrible having to, hide that my whole childhood, because when I tried to, go to the ones that were supposed to protect me and help me and keep me safe, I got in trouble because they thought that I was just trying to cry out for attention. I was trying to get attention. I was trying to, cause problems so that I didn't have to go with my grandparents on the weekends instead of staying home and playing with my friends. Which, truth be told, I loved my grandma so much. I loved going out there with my grandma, but he abused my grandmother, so it wasn't that I was trying to get out of going to spend time there. It was that I was trying to get him out of the picture completely and away from hurting my grandmother, hurting me, I witnessed him, touching my sister, but I was so young when he was touching my sister. He was touching me at such a young age and touching my sister. I just, I didn't realize that it wasn't normal for a really long time, and once I did, it was to the point where they chalked it up to, you're just exaggerating, you can't make up things serious like that and exaggerate because you could really, really cause harm and hurt, the family and break up and cause somebody to seriously pay for something that is really not going on. So I was pretty much told that I was a liar and just, try and seek attention, and I got grounded when I tried to tell my parents. So they got the picture when, he had a military funeral at that, so he was having a 21 gun salute and all of that, with the flag and all of that, and I got up there in front of everyone he ever knew and let them know what a sick, twisted, just abusive monster he was. And I told them I refuse to even be here another second or give him the respect that you guys feel like I should give him. And quite honestly, I hope he burns, and I hope he burns for eternity. And I kind of split the family for a while.
So after that moment, did they believed you after that?
Yeah, they believed me for the simple fact after that, there were other family members that were older. I don't really want to say too much about who or how things came about because I don't want to, put anybody else's business out there that maybe they don't want to be known if my family were to see this or whatever. But he did it to other people in my family, including, his own children, all the way back to when they were babies and little. And, for years until I was able to come out with that and release my demons so that I could have closure, that he had set upon me and tormented me with. Where they weren't able to put a face on their abusers, and they were adults at that time, and they had been fighting with memories of being abused at such a young age, like probably the same as me, 3-4 years old, when you really can't remember after you start to develop more of communication and memory and learning abilities and things. You forget your toddler years a lot of times, but when you're traumatized, a lot of times you don't forget things like that. But there were adults, his daughters, that were able to finally a couple months down the line, they had been having night terrors since they were children, reoccurring memories and night terrors, like it was still happening and they were still a child. And their cow barn, where they would go milk the cows every morning before school, and they were sexually abused in that barn by a man that they could never put a face on. And months after I came out, they were finally able to see the face of their abuser, and it was their father. So he didn't just start with me, he abused generations of his family.
Well, this could be a good start to get into your life story, which is the other part of this video that I'd love to do with you. One more thing I want to mention about the photo before we move on is that I found a video of Bruce Gilden talking about several pictures from his visit to Miami and the Overtown area. And when he got to yours and spoke about it, he said it was his wife's favorite picture.
Really?
From that book, yeah. So I just wanted to,
Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
And who knows, maybe he'll see this video and...
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And you know what? I hope, if not for nothing, if he does see it, thank you, Bruce. Because you know what? Right now I'm in treatment, and I am starting to deal with, a lot of my trauma, a lot of my abuse that I never had therapy for, which stemmed from what was talked about when that photo was taken. And after all this time since that photo was taken, I'm just now starting to work on, healing from that, and growing and moving on and learning to live life on life's terms instead of, surviving life on my terms, because when that picture was taken, I probably told him the same thing, You know, I didn't think that I would even make it this long, probably. And when people ask me, you know, oh, you know, are you married? Do you? Because I would always say, oh, you know, I gotta go. My husband's waiting. And little did they know, I was talking about I gotta go get a fix because my husband was my dope, and I called my dope my husband because I loved my dope and escaping the pain and the memories and the hurt and the reality of so much suffering in this life that, you know, I just never really dealt with, and never really, it just kept piling on top of one right after the other, to the point where, you know, I ended up resenting men and marrying dope. And when people ask me if I was married, I say, yeah, I sure am. It's me and fentanyl till death do us part. I promise you that. He will never leave me, he will never cheat on me, and I promise you, he will die with me.
What changed that for you now that you say you want to get a divorce, so to speak, from...
Oh, yes. Well, yeah. Right now, we're separated. I have filed for divorce. And I'm getting a restraining order. I have a stay-away order right now, so to say. No, all jokes aside. You know what? I actually, you see this exit right here behind us? That's an exit off the highway.
Yes.
And that overpass right there, they're building a bridge right there where that police car is. Actually, that wall right there, that, you can't see it, but where that car, the police car is parked on the right hand side of it, it's actually behind me. You can kind of see on this side up here, on that side it's built the same way, and up right underneath where the cars are going over, there are spaces literally from probably the second white line right here to right here. They're maybe not even that big probably, but they're only this wide, you know, from my foot to here. And me and an actual human being partner. My ex that I was in a very bad domestic abuse relationship with. We're actually living right there behind us where we're doing this video. We lived up under that bridge at the top of it. You hear the noise, you hear all the traffic going over us, and the pouring down rain and the cold and the monsoons, the tropical depressions, the hurricanes.
You stay there during hurricanes?
We were there. We were literally flooded in. We were surrounded by water. We couldn't get down the wall. I mean, imagine, because the wall, like this whole parking lot, just like over there, I mean, all of this flooded and it went halfway up the wall. So, I mean, we were stuck up there, and It was just, we waited it out. We prepared, we knew it was coming. And
yeah, because my first thought about that is, like, how do you get your fix during that time when you can't really go out to buy drugs?
You gotta know, you get at least, hopefully, you have a phone or enough communication with the outside world other than just your drug habit, and you know, especially when a hurricane's coming or a major tropical depression is coming, you get word that, you know, there's shelter available if you want to take it, and sometimes you don't get word in time to even get that, but, you know, we would come, the reason I brought it up, we would come down here from this wall behind us, walk right there to that light and panhandle every day. Every morning I would be out there panhandling from, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I still do, because I still need money. Even though I'm in treatment, I need money to, you know, still buy my personal items, my hygienes and things like that, because I'm not allowed to have a job while I'm in treatment. But yeah, I survived panhandling right there at that light, holding a sign for 2 years. And people got to know me, and I met a woman. I know I'm jumping around right now, but I'm trying to get back to what changed my mind about all of this. I met a woman that would come through. I saw her about 3 or 4 times, 3 weeks in a row on a Friday. And every time I saw her, she was a Haitian lady, and she would roll down her window without hesitation. Every time she saw me, it didn't matter if there was a line of traffic behind her, all honking the horn, she would make sure that she got my attention. It got me over to her, asked me if I needed prayer, and if and tell me that Jesus loves me, and don't ever think that he has forsaken me or forgotten me, because he's waiting for me, and he loves me, and he's here. He's just waiting for me to accept him and come back to his graces, and recognize that he's real and he loves me, and that this is not the life that I was born for, and she would sit there in the middle of rush hour traffic and ask me, do you need prayer? And I tell her, yes, please, I need prayer. And she would pray for me, and she would hand me $5 and tell me, Jesus loves you. And one day I asked her, I said, you know what? I really want to go to church. I would really love to find a church, but I don't even know where to begin to look for one. I'm not from Miami, and I don't know anybody that goes to church.
I go to church.
In my circle of friends. Well, now I do know you. Now I know you go to church.
If you ever want to go with me,
she told me, she said, I told her, I said, I really want to find a church. And she said, well, okay. She said, I can probably help you out with that. Right now I'm late. Will you be here? Can I come, and will you be here next Friday? And I said yes. She said, okay, I'm gonna come and speak to you, not here. I'm gonna come, where can I find you? And I told her, I stay right over here underneath the overpass. You can pull up right in front, and I can actually spend some time talking with you or whatever. If you have any resources, or if you have a home church that you're willing to take me to, please, give me the information, the address, whatever. I would love to talk to you about it. So she said, okay, I'll be here next Friday, and I have some things that I want to talk to you about. And she came the next week, and she pulled up under here, and she flashed her lights about the same time as usual, and she honked her horn, and I walked back, and she had like a little bag, like a little gift bag, and she said, "Oh, I have a care package for you, you know," and there's some, I wrote some verses in there for you that I think might help you, you know, because you told me, you know, you don't even know where to start because you've been so out of touch with on how to pray and talk to God and communicate with Jesus. So, you know, I wrote some verses that might help you, you know, find it easier to find a relationship with God and Jesus if that's what you're looking for. And I would love to invite you to my church. And I said, seriously? And she said, yes. She said, I will come and get you and take you. And she said, I will come and get you every Sunday and take you.
Wow.
And she said, my church would love to have you. My church is very loving, open, and very just, they love any and everybody that is willing to come and praise and worship and be a part of our family and just, you know, come together and add into our already established family that is collaborated together. It's two churches it's called Collab. Two churches actually collaborated together in one neighborhood. We're two separate churches in the same neighborhood. And they said, you know what, this is, you know, not very smart. You know, we're in the same neighborhood and we have two separate churches when we could collaborate into one and have a bigger congregation and benefit more from it. And, you know, I think it would be, you know, the pastors decided to make it all one church and they did that. So she came in and she got me. But when she gave me that care package and I walked up that wall, she said, please just go, you know, read the verses, think on it. You're not obligated to come. You said you were looking for a church, and my church would love to have you. And but you're not obligated. Just please don't carry that care package back out there with you, and continue your morning routine. Please do that for me. And I didn't know why she had said that at the time, but I carried it up there and I put it with my stuff and I went back down and I went on about my business and finished my morning and went back upstairs. And I had actually set everything that I had made out there that people had blessed me with in my jacket, and I had turned my back, walked down one of the lights, walked down traffic, and came back and my sweater was gone with everything that I had made that day. And I was like, oh Jesus, you know what? I know you love me, and I know that you got me no matter what. And I just thank you for sending me a way to come praise you, because you know what? That's worth so much more than any amount of money I made on that ramp today. And when I went back upstairs and I opened those prayer cards, there was $200 in between the prayers. And that right there was just like, you know what? That's nothing but 100% a sign that, you know what, Jesus is still carrying me through this. While I can't walk on my own 2 feet right now, it's like the footprints saying, the footprints poem, you know, footprints in the sand, you know. While I was not able to walk, all the while I know that Jesus was right there carrying me, and he never left me. And that was the moment that changed my way of looking at life and how I was living, and realized that, you know what, through all of my wrongs and all of my sins and all the things I've done right or wrong, and religiously, politically correct, by society's eyes, God's eyes, or just any regular human being's eyes, judgment is not a human being's choice to be made. It's not their place to make it. There's only one true judge, and like it says in that book, only God could judge me. And you know what? I believe that when I'm judged, that I'm going to be judged fairly, and I believe that I am going to be eternally happy in paradise, because you know what? I didn't raise my hand in kindergarten when they asked me what you know how they ask, and they have the, kindergarten, first grade, they ask the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, and that's something that all first graders, kindergartners, elementary kids get asked. And I am yet to have heard an elementary teacher, kindergartner teacher, or witnessed myself, a child, or heard of a teacher witnessing a child, female or male, because males are in the same situation out here a lot of times, raise their hand and say, I want to be a junkie prostitute. You know what I'm saying? I certainly did not raise my hand and say, this is what I wanted to do with my life when I was a little girl. And I didn't choose this. This is not something that I enjoy. This is not something that I thought that I would ever end up being able to say that this is what my life was. But I'm glad I can. And I wouldn't change a second of it. I wouldn't give it back for the world, because everything happens for a reason. And you know what? It's my life. I'm living it, but it's already written. It's my story, and it's already written. I'm just trying to finish it and get it right. Choose the right ending, because even though it's already written, I believe that everybody's life story has two different endings, and it's up to us with our free will which ending we take, which ending we end up choosing.